Welcome, everybody. It is the Postgame Live. I'm here with the one and only Drew Kelson and Paul Wadlington. We are going to talk about the game. Texas wins 35-13 in our first SEC matchup. Pretty cool. Make sure to like and subscribe to the video, y'all, and to the channel. We're trying to get that 10K mark. And use promo code IT1 to get 2 months for $1 over at InsideTexas.com. All right, so me and Drew were talking pregame. The Twitter meltdowns are funny right now for like 35-13. We're in a different place. You would have think we won by 3 or maybe lost that with some of the reactions on there. Absolutely, there's things to work on. We're not going to minimize that. There's real analysis to be had, but it is nice to see that level of despair and still the game was never in doubt the entire time.
Protect the football. Whatever you do, protect the football. There are certain standards I have for running backs that I don't necessarily have for receivers, and that's protecting the football. It's a different game if you protect the football. It's a different game if you run like you want to protect the football. If you respond to fumbling the ball as if you want to protect the football. So at the end of the day, yeah, you're right. We were not in position to lose this game. I felt like we were in control the entire time, but I think all of our fans see how important turnovers can be, field position can be, not even momentum. It wasn't as if they turned those turnovers into points that hurt us, so that made this a game. But everyone expected this game to be a far larger margin than it actually was. And I think turnovers, missed opportunities, getting behind the chains, on penalties, on snap infractions, on false starts, on just little things here and there. Those little things become big games when the margins are thin. And so, we won this game. We felt like we were going to win this game. We had control. Honestly, Mississippi State and Lebby did a great job of controlling the clock and making sure they put themselves in position to take advantage of just, hey, us not being sharp. But we got to clean those things up.
Yeah, Drew nailed it. And I think the chat's got it too. Blue was not good today. I mean, beyond protecting the football, when you're in there, run hard. You have to try. You can't tiptoe. And, you saw the contrast when they worked in Trey Wisner and Jarrett Gibson in terms of effort. And I think that showed. So I think you have a big momentum game. You've got a bye week, which is great. Got some stuff to work on us. You're going to have a work on us week and then a work on OU week, right? Yep. And we need to be very clear that this is a momentum game. And if you're not going to go in there, and I'm not talking about after the fact, I'm talking about before the fact, you have to play your guys who are going to be all in for every quarter, every snap, every possession, because not only can you lose that game, but you can get your teammates hurt. You can, if you don't give your best effort, this is there's a lot of other stuff going on there beyond just, your touches and whatever else. So I was very pleased with Wisner and Gibson in the second half. And I thought the O-line blocked well. They had some nice holes in the first half that weren't taken advantage of. And then Arch Manning, fantastic. I mean, if you told me we only scored 35, I would have said, did Arch have a little slow start? No, he was awesome. He was absolutely great. And, he was a drop pass away from a 400-yard passing day.
Yeah, he had 324 yards. Yeah, if he would have had the Cook, 2 touchdowns, and cool part, 84% completion percentage. And that's what Sark will do after he felt bad last game. Because he even said in the press game, he's like, that 50% game, that was on my play calls. And Sark was like, look, Sark is such an engineer, man. He'll put these quarterbacks in like situations. He'll make you look bad too if like he wants you to have a tough game. It's pretty funny that but he knows how to kind of tweak the scheme to get the outcomes he wants in that regard. The thing with Blue was, of course, kind of the frustration of fumbling. On that second one, I thought he must have I didn't know if he hit his head or something because he kind of looked a bit dazed afterwards, like he bounced his head or something, but it was just the nonchalant nature too of potentially losing that fumble and not even really going for it. That was also what I thought was kind of strange effort-wise. So hopefully Blue can figure it out. exciting athlete, home run ability, but just this whole season, he's just looked a little bit flat. Like he's not running as hard as he could be running. So
He had 4 touchdowns last week, Colin. I mean, what are we talking about here?
what?
He had 4 touchdowns last week, Connor. What I mean?
Oh yeah.
There is a difference, though.
That's the little details, right?
But
4
that is a
touchdowns
difference.
and he didn't finish his routes, So it's like, but that's Sark's scheme, He can get you a touchdown, but if you're not running your routes hard and all that kind of stuff, it's not just pure production, He looked concussed. Blue has concussion. Yeah, I kind of saw him bounce his head, so I didn't know. Again, he looked a little dazed and confused, kind of. Hey, McConaughey's not around, but that would have been a good one. But he looked a little dazed and confused afterwards. So maybe he does have a concussion, and that was a little bit. Another site said Blue was out with a concussion after that play. Yeah. Okay. Cool. That makes sense. Then I will revoke any criticism on that because he did look a little dazed after that second one. All right, let's kind of run through some of these. We've got some Trey Moore.
While you're doing that, Drew, you misspelled Run DMC on your hat.
Close.
It's funny. It's funny when you travel to go play golf in other cities. It's a big deal to go get a hat from where you played. So this is Del Mar Country Club, famous Del Mar.
Very famous.
Yeah, very famous Del Mar. So I'm wearing a DMCC.
Did you win an awards contest, dude?
An awards contest? No.
Like work. Did you? Yeah, you get like reward trips for like.
No. I went out. I have a friend who has a membership out, a couple of memberships out in San Diego. So went out there to hang out. But
nice.
No awards contest. But you're right. I probably won't be back to any of these courses because they're
San Diego, man. That city's got
San Diego.
I can handle that climate.
Yeah.
So Simmons, let's talk a little Colin Simmons. So kind of my point is this with Colin Simmons is he flashes a lot, and that's because he physically moves across your screen. And that'll catch your eye, and that's awesome in sometimes. But generally in run fits, you don't want to see defenders, especially linemen, run physically across your screen because that means they're not in their gap.
You know who loves Colin Simmons?
Who?
Household cats.
Why?
He's always flashing around and moving.
Yeah.
And sometimes he's supposed to stay still and squeeze and prevent the double team defensive tackle to have his back. But he also gets good get off the ball. And if it's 3rd and 9, it's fun to watch him.
I know who I want in the pass rush. It's Simmons. I mean, he's off the line so fast. But we got to, with fans and stuff, you got to tell him he's a young player still. The other half of the game is run blocking, and so we have to watch him on that run blocking side.
You know what though? This was the game to get a player of his talent this many snaps. You want to get this stuff on film. You need to get things to coach him up on. The only way to really coach a player to where they'll see it, because there's points and things at risk, and there's things that are associated with every mistake you make, is in games. So this game for Colin Simmons was probably a low risk game for him to get the snaps he got, make the mistakes, or just kind of, not play things as cleanly as he should have played it. But of course, he always flashes no matter what.
He's incredible.
But I do think this is a great game for film for him that we need, because the back half of this season, Colin Simmons is just a different player. And so we're going to need him in ways that we need him to strengthen some of the things that he needs to work on right now, so that we can take advantage of some of his strengths on the back half of the season, because he is a dynamic player. I think everybody sees that, but we got to clean some things up so he's not a liability, because the film is the film. You can't avoid the film. So he has to clean some things up.
It's just run fits.
It's like getting back to your Blake Shapen concept, the idea of Blake Shapen. the players can be taught conceptually, and they're like, yeah, I get it. But when you sit down, me in high school or Drew in college, and you say, hey, man, and then the coach has the clicker and goes, that 15-yard gain was on you. And then he hits rewind and shows it to you again. And you go, do you see what we're talking about now? And you go, oh, that's why. And then it clicks. So Colin is going to be a part of that process, and he's going to be really good. So I'm excited. Vernon Broughton,
Yeah.
Like, really nice pass rushes. The strip sack, nice.
Yeah, that was an awesome play when he just came down with it.
When I think of Colin Simmons, I think this is one of the games where he'll have enough film to where he'll be able to get coached up and make the strides that Arch Manning had after having a full game of film. Like Arch gave enough to really coach up and come into this game and just play lights out. I think Colin's going to have a bit of the same. And when you have a bye week, I don't know how it's going to be with Sark and this team, but your bye weeks are your hardest week of the season.
Yeah, that Tuesday, I think some pads are going to be popping.
Like, I'm sorry, Gunnar Helm, you're going to be coming across the formation. You have to smash Colin on Tuesday. Next Tuesday, your day's coming.
Yeah.
Juan Davis, like, they're going to be pulling guys, bringing guys. Bye weeks are your most physical practices. If you have shown that you're not blocking as a receiver, if you have shown that you're not physical as a DN or a linebacker, if you have shown that you're struggling in pass blocking as a running, bye weeks, anything physical that needs to be done, it's going to be done because you can get some bumps and bruises and figure it out over the next week. So if we've seen anything, if you call it out, I can guarantee you they're going to be working on it over the next week or so, just to make sure, like, hey, if you get hurt, or bumped up, working on some of the things we need to work on, we'll have some time to heal you up. But yeah, it's going to be physical the next week.
Yeah, I mean, and if I watched some OU on my other screen against Auburn, and they Auburn literally threw the game away.
Yeah, literally.
Literally. 6-6. OU is going to bring a lot of movement, a lot of pre-snap motion, a lot of quarterback run game.
Yep.
Because they can't line up and push people around this year at all. So we're going to have to get those kind of fits. You're going to have to pursue the ball, and you're going to have to honor your gaps and be smart, and just trust your teammates.
Yeah, Paul, how many missed tackles this game do you think?
I saw.
Did it stick out to you? I was going to say, did missed tackling stick out to you? I know it did last game for a little bit, but
yeah, I mean, I saw some broken tackles, and sometimes that's a different category for me from a missed tackle. Like, if you're coming off a block and then the guy runs into you and you stagger a little bit and he falls forward for 2 yards, like you're fine. But whiffing or making contact and you just throw a shoulder and then the guy bounces and keeps running. There was some of that. I think the only thing that distressed me about the defensive effort at all, I mean, a lot of that was purposeful, like how we lined up and did some of the stuff we did. But they were 9 of 20 on money downs. And almost all of that was running the ball in short yardage. So, it's fine to give up a little run, first down or second down. But when it's 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, your run defense has to then assert itself. You can't give up the 4-yard run then. And they did that repeatedly. So I think that was one of the ways they played ball control on us, along with our turnovers and some dumb penalties. But that's something we need to look at and clean up a little bit. But I also think we probably didn't show a great deal in terms of some of our coverages and some of our blitzes on defense.
Yeah, Paul, here we see power rushing 6 for 7, 86%.
Yeah, that's not good.
That's not good. And that's also not a good running team statistically. So it's like that's also, and that's weird because we've been number 2 in the nation at that all year.
I'll say this though, Homer. When Shapen's out, new coach, new off, like I'm not going to say they didn't know what to prepare for, but I think Levy knew he had to control the clock, knew he had to run the ball. So this wasn't, I agree, this is not good, but I do think from a schematic and planning and standpoint, you got 6 points on a brand new quarterback game plan that you did not really truly prepare for. There's no way they prepared for the amount of run, the amount of control that they got. So our defense, can we just give a hand clap or something for the defense? Because at the end of the day, this offense should allow and permit far more points than we allowed today. And really against normal average defenses, they should be able to produce that. Because I do think this quarterback combination, or at least what they're doing now that they did not do with Shapen, it's different. So maybe it'll look different after they put this on film. But when your defense can't prepare for something specifically and still show up and hold a team to 13 points, yeah, you'll take it for sure.
Definitely. And there's there is such a thing, complimentary football can be overdone when people talk about it, but this was an example of it. When you realize that Mississippi State wanted to run the ball, the best thing the Texas offense could have done is put a bunch of points up on the board pretty quickly, because then you get Mississippi State out of their game plan, and then they're kind of cooked if it gets very predictable on their passing. So Jonte's got to catch that ball, and then you got to not shoot yourself with the turnovers and the penalties. I mean, if Texas is up at half 28-3, the game gets out of hand for Mississippi State, but that's not how the game was played. And the defense, for the most part, I think was up to the task and up to the challenge.
Yeah, I know we were playing a lot of too high early. I didn't really pay attention to the safety shell towards the end, but that was also a thing too. We might have gone more man at the end and tried to stop the run more, but I also don't think that was
no. But Paul, you're exactly right. I mean, the game plan, any game plan for us, if we score instead of fumble in the red zone,
yeah,
the game goes a completely different script.
Well, I mean, if you look at the construction of different NFL teams, the really smart ones understand what their style of play is. And so for example, actually Kansas City now has gotten more deliberate, but when they were more explosive, they were like, let's just have a bunch of pass rushers. We're going to have Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill and these dudes all running around scoring. And then we want a bunch of pass rushers on defense. We don't really care about stopping the run because we're going to put points up on the board. We're going to get people behind, and then we're going to rush the passer, and we're going to seal the game. And in a league where you have a salary cap, you have to make those kinds of choices stylistically. Like, what are we going to be? Good news about Texas is if our recruiting keeps up the way it's been, you can sort of have everything you want. But I would say this, despite we don't have enough sacks crowd, we got 6 today, by the way. We play well stylistically if we can rush the passer in a predictable way.
Yeah, so total net yards, 522, 198 rushing yards.
Most of that in the second half.
Yeah, and 6.4 average per rush.
Yeah, that's good. I'll take that.
Yeah, 100%. But they put up 150, averaging 150, but averaging 3. So, okay. All right, before we get into more of a chat, guys, first, let's hear a word from our sponsor.
I'm just going to say, guys, you probably need a fiduciary financial advisor. And I've got the guy for you. His name is David McClellan with Forum Financial. He works broadly and deeply with his clients as a financial life coach. And he should know something about coaching because he won several national championships as a swimmer for the University of Texas. He specializes in financial planning and has contributed numerous articles to Kiplinger on the topic of retirement tax bombs. So contact David today to be your fiduciary financial planner and schedule a 1-hour consultation to assess your financial situations. The free consultation is available, so just give him a call. The number is 312-933-8823. That's 312-933-8823. His email is also in the description below.
Good stuff. And you said 6 sacks, Paul? I didn't even realize we had 6 sacks.
Yeah, we had 6.
Yeah, we do. That's awesome.
I will say this again. The turnovers, the penalties, those are really the difference in this game. I mean, and those are coachable things too. So the difference in a game that we all expected to win, the difference we won by 23 points. Am I doing 22? Right? Yeah, 22 points. So yeah, like that's really what it comes down to. We've gotten so accustomed. It's funny how we set our certain expectations, standards for what we expect to see when we go into a game. Dominance, right? We need things to coach these guys on. I'm happy Jeff Lebby came out with a game plan that exposed some things, that pressured us, that challenged us, that pushed us, because now we have a week to work on it. I'm glad we played Colin Simmons. I'm glad we played younger guys. I'm glad we had some injuries. I'm glad we had Trey Wisner come in and do what he needed to do for the team. at the end of the day, there's no guarantees at running back. So all these guys should be getting touches at this point, as far as I'm concerned. We should just be splitting them individually. I mean, splitting them evenly, because who can we ride with now? So, this game was in control. You know, we did what he needed to do. Colton Vosick, what did he do?
Had a sack.
He had a sack, but he's another player where I'm just like, we're going to see when things transition over the next year or two, guys like that on the opposite side of a Colin Simmons, when you have a guy who is big and physical and can pass rush and do the things he does. Man, I'm telling you, man, it's that's what I want. That's what I'm looking for when I'm watching these games. How are guys developing? Who's making flashes? From Vernon Broughton, who you're like, damn, Vernon. You're like, dude, 10th year, but bro, like, you had a play we really needed today. You really did it. You did it when we needed it. But then I'm looking at the young guys, and the guys who are just like, okay, he's going to be here for a few more years. That's what I'm looking for in these games. And then I'm looking for just what do we need to clean up. So compared to the last or several years we've had, we can complain and talk about what we should be doing, how we should look, or what we want to see. But as a player, like, and as a coach, you need stuff to coach up. You need it. You need it. You need it. And this was a perfect game, the perfect time to have some things need to be coached up, but also a great time to see some younger players or some players who hadn't got as many snaps get some snaps they can get coached up on, because the second half of this season, I'll keep saying it, is going to be, it's just going to be different. It's going to be more than we've ever had to endure on a back half when you consider the slate, the playoffs, the intensity, the necessity to win every game, because we still need to win every game. We can't take anything for granted, because once you lose one, you can't lose two.
Yep.
Got to do what you got to do. So this was a good game for coaching for sure.
Kentucky has revived its reputation as a agent of chaos in this conference. They took Georgia down to the wire.
Yeah.
Frankly, their coach kind of, what's the nice word I could use? You know what I want to say, Drew.
Something in the bed. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he was a little soft, did not make the courageous call to win the game, but did that against Ole Miss and beat them in the Grove, which is legit. And then they got blown out by South Carolina at home. So look, it's 20-year-olds playing football, but also just realize that even a Kentucky, which might go 7-5 or 8-4 this year, they've got 6 dudes in their starting 22 who are going to play in the NFL or be drafted this year. So, you know, there's no lack of quality. So you got to bring it. Wussed out. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate
that's the nice version. That's the kids bop.
That's right. Hey, someone, did you see Michael Taft go back in the game?
I did not pay attention to it, honestly.
I thought I saw him late.
Okay.
Unfortunately, well, it depends on how far you're talking about going back in the game when, because I saw him, I think, early fourth quarter.
Yeah, I thought he got shaken up a little bit, and then I wasn't sure if he returned. I wasn't. They were playing catch up, and like safeties weren't even on my team.
If you saw him in the fourth, he got injured before the fourth.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I thought I saw 16 making a play on a run. Maybe I'd have to go back and look.
It all blends together. But
Okay.
yeah, he had a nice recovery speed, by the way, and that PBU in the end zone.
When me and Coach did the film breakdown on Taft, that's one thing we noticed, that whenever he'd get a little bit beat, he could recover. And we saw that again, which was nice.
How does he do that? Because I'm told he runs like a 5.2, 5.3 40. That's just weird.
When you're coaching,
he's somehow able to do it.
He's
a real lunch pail guy.
Oh, yeah, he throws down the lunch pail to run, and that makes him laugh.
That's what lunch pail is, what weighs him down. And as soon as he drops it, he's able to run.
It's that damn lunch pail. Well,
he returned, but was in his street clothes at the end.
He was in the streets out there getting in trouble.
Well, of course, of course he's in the streets, man.
You got a game going on, man. You can't be out in the streets.
Yeah.
Nope. And we've learned now as a DB, as long as you knock the ball out, even after the receiver has hit the ground,
not a catch.
It's incomplete. They didn't finish the catch. So even if you're beat as a DB, chase the ball, knock it out. Even if he falls on the ground, knock it out.
Hey, was that the rule when you were playing?
No.
Or if it wasn't enforced.
They
Like,
would say you have to complete the catch, but honestly, I think it was common sense. It was the stuff you play at the park. It's like, hey,
yes,
dude, you caught the ball. Somebody came and knocked it out right as you stepped out of bounds. No, it's a catch.
yes.
A lot of the stuff, unfortunately, is not common sense, and technology has ruined our ability to just use what makes sense. It
Well, like,
really has.
Mississippi State had a little boundary throw late where the guy kind of he didn't juggle the ball, but the ball moved in his hands as he was running. Like, because when you run, like stuff you're holding moves. And they're like, not a catch. And they like had a big conference about it. And I'm like, dude, it's fine. Like in the park, Drew and I would have been like, good catch. Like,
That's it.
it's weird.
Like, why are we doing this? Like,
So weird.
Was that
No,
a
man.
Big 12 ref crew?
No.
Yeah, that was that.
Welcome to the SEC.
Maybe it's not the conference affiliation. Maybe we just globally the refs are not that good.
or
Hey,
maybe
you want
we-
to know how much we love our fans? Alabama's playing Georgia right now, and we're doing this. And
Yeah.
Alabama just scored 7-zip.
Yeah, I have them, but I can't. I'm having to share the screen of the stats, or else I would be sneakily having it in the corner. I thought receivers. Thought Bond had a really good game.
DeAndre Moore was excellent.
I thought DeAndre Moore had an awesome game too. They should have gave
Bond,
the first touchdown.
there were a couple of plays where, like, they need to find their athletic desperation against OU, because there were a couple of plays by the receivers blocking where they didn't block real hard, and it got guys lit up. Like Wingo got lit up by Bond. I mean,
Yeah,
Bond
I remember
doing
that
a
one.
really hard effort. And then Jonte Cook had a not great effort on the tunnel screen. That got a guy lit up. On the next play, Jonte had a nice catch on that long cross route.
Oh,
But
Paul.
I like to
Oh,
see the
Paul.
receivers. They gotta bring it, man, a little more aggressively. And Drew's loving this because he likes when receivers get criticized.
Oh man, there was
The
nothing
old
better than
DB in him before the linebacker move.
Well, because receivers are soft, and Texas receivers. I'm just going to call all of you soft, so maybe you'll show up and actually not
There
be
you
soft.
go.
I'll say, I mean, at the end of the day, that's what bye weeks are for. How do you separate yourself? How do you separate yourself from your teammates? I think DeAndre Moore scored a touchdown this week, but there's going to be a premium on players who are actually blocking through the whistle at receiver now. This is the week for that. We can't. Sark has no problem going through a season with guys he trusts. If you cannot be trusted to block, you will be watching, period. We didn't run as much RPO. We didn't run as much as that today as we usually run with Quinn.
Yeah.
If you didn't show it in this game plan, how can we trust you to show it when Quinn comes back? We need guys who actually want to be physical, put their hands on guys, get their hands inside, make sure that they're actually like moving DBs. A lot of these DBs aren't really coached. They aren't all Jade Barron. Like, they aren't guys who actually want to get off blocks.
Right.
They'll concede. You just got to do it the right way. That will be the difference maker for the back half of this season, because thinking you can catch every ball, but not block for the running backs, or not block when we need that extra yard, that's going to be the difference maker at receiver on the back half of the season. I think the next 2 weeks are going to be critical, and we're going to see this tighten up a bit because we just cannot afford to play, even on a day like today where we won and it was comfortable, even though we had turnovers. We cannot afford to just give up a play where it should have been 8 yards, but we only got 3, or it should have been 20, but we only got 6 because you didn't do your job. That cannot be. No, that's not acceptable. Not blocking is more damaging than dropping a pass.
Yeah, well, I think that's too. Sark said it. Why we are not having our explosive runs that we're used to is because of our wide receiver blocking, and Sark's called that out, which I thought was interesting. And I think that's why Moore won that slot gig, was because of his blocking, and that's why Jordan Whittington, of course, made it that kind of position famous for him. So Sark puts it at a premium. And luckily, remember AD the beginning of last season? He wouldn't even try to block, and then by the end of it, he had more effort. So hopefully we can see that kind of change. some of that stuff's schematic though. Like I would get bothered when like, someone would get blown up, but Worthy was the lead blocker. Well, it's like, yeah, there's a schematic reality to some of this too, where I'm just like, you're picking little fast receivers. They're not going to be elite blockers. Now, effort-wise, they can do that, but these aren't boundary receivers. They're not going to be great blockers. So this is kind of the give and take of it. What do y'all think about that?
I agree. Hey, Connor, the Eyes of Texas had an interesting question in the chat. If you could pull that up, I think that's worth commenting on. How will this performance affect recruits at game? I think we as hypercritical fans and crazed fans we live in a vastly different world from what those recruits are having a blast. They saw Texas win. They saw a bunch of exciting plays. They saw a packed stadium, the crowd getting loud. There's a bunch of good-looking girls. They are going to a party later tonight. They are having a blast. And they did not watch this game with a hypercritical eye the way we did.
Texas won. Texas looked better. Texas looked bigger. You saw the facilities. You saw Arch throw deep balls. You saw the defense get sacks. You saw the highlights. As a recruit, you're seeing highlights.
Yes.
As a player, just to really separate the fans' perspective from the players are not freaking out about this game.
Right. Yeah.
Players are like, dang, I got it. I mean, coach knows I don't fumble. Coach knows I don't lack. Coach knows I know how to block. The next 2 weeks are going to be hell.
Yeah, they just know the tape is going to suck and that they're going to run them.
So while you're worried and while you're all like, okay, we're going to be better, there are going to be guys who actually have to put in the work to show and prove that they're going to be better in 2 weeks. It's not going to be fun. Like, we're going to be better, but we don't have to do any work as fans to actually get better. The players, this is the bye weeks. I'm happy we have a bye week before OU. I can't think of the last time we actually had one, or if we've ever had one, to be honest. But yeah, they got to get work this week. Real work.
Yeah, just know that the player perspective and the fan perspective are not the same thing at all. These people, this is more of like a weird job interview. They're kind of seeing a future employer, that kind of thing. They're not been watching this team their whole life. This is not Harry Potter or something that they get emotionally invested in. This is some work they're looking at and seeing about future bosses. It would suck if players saw the game how we did, because we would just lose 5 stars after any like sketchy game. They'd be like, "Oh, we quit. We can never play for Texas." They're still number 1 in that Texas name. Yeah, we'll see after this Bama Georgia game.
Who wrote that?
Andrew
it's you.
Kelson.
Wow. Yeah. Andrew
Kelson.
Yeah.
Sounds like a smart guy. Stick around, Andrew Kelson. Yep. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, for one more night. Yeah, we'll have to see. I'm honestly pro give it to whoever wins Georgia and Bama, even regardless of Texas. I'm not taking away our one because we only beat Mississippi State by 20-something points. I'm just giving it to them because they're going to win better. Thoughts on Arch specifically?
Awesome.
Yeah, good old Vince Young, man. 4th and whatever, man. He's like, I'm going to the corner pylon, baby.
Hey, man, that was really athletic.
I know.
I mean, not just he trucked the guy and then got, and ran for 26 yards, but really good body control. Like, that is not easy, man. Like, that was very impressive. Vanilla Vince. That's exactly right. I mean, I thought he's a great athlete, and he was great.
He had to score 3 times on that drive.
There were no issues with. Yeah, he did. He scored on 2 quarterback sneaks, and these guys sat there and just stood and stared.
Yep. Like, see, Gaddis, you said it. Like, one thing I wanted to get out of this week is seeing how Sark and Arch responded to last week's film study, just coaching. At the end of the day, coaching. And I don't think they had less deep balls. It was just the distribution, the awareness of where to go with the ball was different. So yeah, I mean, I'm with you on decision making was there. Arch did what he needed to do. He made progress. There's nothing better, especially with a young player, seeing them make progress from week to week. It's like, has that been coached out of them yet?
Yeah.
Quinn, we saw things that needed some time to be coached out, and he had injuries and certain things. And so we're finally at a point where we're comfortable and we know Quinn has accepted. We've seen the progress take place. Arch, this is our first time actually being able to see. Yes, we saw like first spring game versus last week. But from seeing week to week and just seeing a difference, seeing the presence, seeing the ability to take hits, bounce back up, run the ball when he needed to, bounce back up, step up in the pocket when he needed to. He did everything you'd want to see from him in a second week starting SEC play. Great game plan by Levy and that team. Yeah, like Arch did his thing. He did everything I wanted to see him do as a guy who I do not expect to be starting for us in the next 2 weeks, but I know we're going to need him again soon. Hopefully it's not this year, but if we do, I feel confident in the way that he showed up tonight that he can respond to coaching. He'll be ready for whatever game plan we have.
Hey,
he wasn't the problem tonight.
How about that 49-yard dime when they had the extra man blitzer? He saw it. He stepped into the hit to deliver the ball, which was flawless to DeAndre Moore, who made a nice Willie Mays catch and did a great job. But that was, if you want to know if Arch is going to be that guy, that throw was.
That's where you see the 6'4". That's where you see.
I was going to say, hey, Homer, you just said it right. Arch is closer to Cam Newton than he is to really
Kyler Murray.
I mean, right. Like, I think people really need to realize this dude is a physical specimen. Like, he is not big. He's a big kid. So I understand the concern about hits, but he's not built the way. Yeah. Like, there's Anthony Hill. How tall is Anthony Hill? He's
6'3",
6'3",
240, 230.
Then you have Arch, who's 6'5", 6'4". I'm sorry, 6'4", 225. Like he's built in a way where you don't have to worry about hits with him like you do with Quinn. You really don't. Yeah. So yeah, I'm not saying take him. I'm just saying don't worry about him as much as you do with Quinn for sure.
They kept saying on the broadcast that his granddad called him and they were telling him to go out of bounds and slide. And also part of the Manning's calculus was Texas's offensive line class. So they were very the Mannings don't want him getting hit, but he's also still 19 years old and he's gonna go corner pylon whenever he sees the opportunity. But it's a different thing too. Quinn is much more fragile. He's a smaller guy. You see Arch, he's like, I'll take a shot from a DB. I'm bigger than that DB.
Arch is the dude. Is like he's a big kid. He's a big
also
kid.
You see Sark's offense when you have somebody that completes the deep ball at that rate, man, Sark's offense, which is already scary, becomes freaky. So if you have somebody that likes to throw the deep ball that much and can complete the deep ball at that high level, Quinn has historically not been that great at it. But you get Arch Manning that can do it, oof, it's going to be scary.
Alabama is lighting up Georgia.
I'm like, this is not fair.
I can't see it. I'm sharing my screen with the viewers.
You gave Kalen DeBoer this roster, a running quarterback who can launch deep balls. If nothing else, he can throw the deep ball.
Yeah. He can throw a deep ball. That is certified.
Man, must be nice.
So I'm trying to look over the drive here. I am excited for Quinn to come back. The offense does just look smoother with Quinn. And it's kind of like the down-to-down stuff looks smoother. So that's why I'm excited for Quinn to come back. There's just more command there. Even though Arch has been absolutely awesome. And I think this has been a win-win to have – I mean, of course you want Quinn to stay healthy the whole time, but to be able to get Arch Manning quality, legit reps, let him play an SEC game, all that stuff before he's going to need to come back next year. Quinn can rest. I think this was a cool – kind of way to set up that quarterback room for the future. What do y'all think?
Amen.
Amen.
Yo.
Hey, you don't need to go to church to find religion on one subject, Connor and Drew. Do you know what that subject is? Getting a home mortgage.
Brilliant.
You need to contact our guy, Gabe Winslow, at 832-557-1095. If you have purchased a house in the last 20 months, because that's when interest rates really started to spike. You got a much higher rate than you need to have. Call Gabe, find out how he can refi you for absolutely $0 American dollars. You'll get a lower rate. It'll be a painless process. And you'll start establishing a relationship with a guy who's established a relationship with a ton of our viewers, a ton of my listeners on the Everyone Gets a Trophy podcast and Inside Texas. And this is a relationship you'll have for the rest of your life because he's going to keep refining you at lower and lower rates. And usually when things are going his way, for free. So this is a call worth your time. Make that call, 832-557-1095. Tell him that Drew Kelson sent you, and that if he doesn't do a good job, Drew will come and find him. But he's going to do a good job.
Say blame Drew Kelson if he does a bad job.
That's right.
Awesome. Y'all go check out Gabe. He's the man. So I do forward looking, right? We got those Oklahoma boys coming up and Georgia. And apparently Georgia doesn't look good. I wouldn't know. I'm sacrificing for our lovely viewers, but
You still got to show up and play the game.
yeah.
Like,
So
make no mistake.
what did we see that we don't like that we do know could be exposed versus OU, or is there not much?
I mean, their defense is going to play for 4 quarters, and they're going to be confident, and they have accepted the role as the leadership and anchor of what's going to make this team win games. That is important. It's one thing if you go in as a defense and say we're going to play complementary football. It's another thing if you're saying we will not win if we don't dominate. And so you have a coach, you have alignment from coach to player to assistant coach. Everybody knows the defense has to play well against Texas. So I do expect them to show up defensively ready. And they have 2 weeks to prepare. So that's my biggest concern, hands down. We can talk about their offense all we want to, but one thing we have seen without a doubt is their defense is showing up. So that's what we got to be prepared for. And today's issues, today's challenges, getting behind the chains because of penalties, fumbling the ball, turnovers. I mean, turnovers were the difference last year.
Yep.
So we have to show up. We have to show up, play clean football, not turn over the football. I trust we're going to have a game plan. We've literally always had a game plan in this game, at least offensively. So I trust that part, but we have to execute. So, yeah, do not take OU lightly. They have 2 weeks to prepare. They have a defense that can, give us challenges. So, we still got to show up and play great ball.
This is a game for your ride or die, guys. Like you can't have the front runners out in that game because they get exposed. And Blake Brockermeyer, former Longhorn great offensive tackle, said it's the only game he's ever played in where he kind of felt like it was a fight. And he said, there's other games have been very intense, but he said, it felt like a football game. But he said that game always felt like a fight to him. And he would get like tunnel vision and there was like always stuff going on under the piles. And he said, it's just that kind of game. And if you're not ready for it, the game's not going to go your way. And talent is not the primary factor. It is a major factor, but if you're not ready for the psychological aspects of that game or just the physicality, I have been at many Texas OU games where an inferior Texas team has whipped OU. And unfortunately, I've seen vice versa in a very ugly way. So that's a game where you can't bring your front runners. You better bring your guys that like want to bring it and are going to bring your best effort.
Anthony
is right. Because the only thing, I'm not going to say the only thing, but there's nothing that drives you more to beat OU and vice versa than losing the year before. We beat OU 49-0.
Yeah.
2 years ago. And they came back and nobody thought that game would come down the way it did last year. At the end of the day, this year is no different. I mean, there's no more motivating thing than losing that game. And a lot of guys don't know what it feels like to lose that game until they lose it. And then they're like, yeah, we can never, I never want to experience anything like this again in my life. That is one game you lose. And I'd say A&M too. It never impacted us, but Losing OU.
I wouldn't know what it felt like, but I heard it was bad.
I've heard that losing to A&M sucks. Never experienced it.
I can't relate, but
Losing that game in the middle of the season, it's psychologically. I mean, it's a. I'm trying to find the appropriate term for YouTube. I'm going to call it a gut check.
Yes.
Yeah. You know how players always give us the line of like, every game is the same and we're going to go. I love the coaches. Every game is every game. And then as soon as they win Texas OU, then they freak out. And it's clearly not just every game. But kind of how is it as a player when you guys are having to give the party line that like, we're just going to – it's any other game, but really in your mind, you're like, we got to win this. Like, how does it affect your prep, or does it give you that anxiety before the game, or is it actually more of like a energizing feel?
No, I mean, it's you need to show up regardless. They can suck and you need to show up.
Yep.
And that means show up on Saturday night, do the right thing, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Like, you need to show up. It's a week. Like, you have to show up those weeks before. I mean, the week before you play, you have to show up prepared. You have to show up with the game plan. You have to show up with an edge. Our best player in the game last year was Quinn Ewers. He was also the player that gave them the opportunities and put them in position to win.
Yeah.
So that's how that game can be. Michael Hawkins, he's not. I mean, he's going to be a different player than we've seen from them. Dylan Gabriel, he's going to be different. He made plays today that are plays that I hope we are ready to address. Because he can be a damaging player. You can say what you want about their offense. They have a lot of holes in their offense, but when you have a combination of a defense, a quarterback that can run, because even a quarterback can open up the traditional run game.
Yep.
So there's a lot of elements here. If I'm OU's coach, and I have 2 weeks to prepare, I don't care what you saw from OU today or any weeks before. It's definitely a game where you show up because they are going to show up with the intent to win. It is important to win this game for them. It has to be equally or more important to our guys. You cannot. It's a gift and a curse. It's the best thing ever. Actually, it's not even a curse. It's the best thing ever that we play OU in October every year in the middle of the season, because we can prior or after we can go through all these things, but we know they are going to give us 110%. Doesn't matter who's injured. Doesn't matter who the quarterback is. It does not matter. We have to prepare. And so, this game it's always different.
What do you think about the Van Buren run? Because it seems like Hawkins is going to be able to do that, because we got totally out of our pass rush lanes. That's what and it was one play. It happens, right? But Hawkins can do a lot more damage than Van Buren could in that situation. So that's going to be interesting to see. But we're going to have 2 weeks to try to lock that down, right?
You just hit the point. I mean, I had an OU fan kind of come at me on Twitter, just kind of joking, like, "Oh, hey, y'all have PTSD from Caleb Williams, the backup quarterback who has legs and everything else." I said, "No, Caleb Williams snuck in the game and just took over, and we had no idea what was going on."
Yeah,
I want Hawkins to play this week. I want to see more film on him. I want to see how he's deployed. I know it's important to OU to win this game, so I don't expect them to hold back. They can afford to hold back. So
it'll change their whole narrative. If they beat us, it'll change their whole narrative on the season.
Oh, yeah. But the thing is, too, it's great when you have to win a game. If OU was playing, I don't know, UTSA, I don't know, just name a school. Sorry, UTSA. Name a school. It wouldn't mean as much, but because they had to go on the road, play against Auburn, they won this game. It's not my concern that they won this game. I'm happy they had to run the plays and show the full playbook because the game was so necessary to win. Yeah. They didn't hold back. So we're going to see what they want to do. Whereas I do think while this game traditionally we go into it and there's always wrinkles, and not to say there won't be wrinkles next week, but certainly, I think what we've seen OU needed to do and wants to do with Hawkins, we got to see this week, at least 2 weeks in a row. So 21-0 Georgia. Alabama. Sorry, I'm getting distracted here.
Sheesh.
It's yeah.
I thought Bama was going to win. I texted my Bama friend and I told him y'all are going to get the win, but I didn't think it would be 21-0. When do you guys actually start the install for OU? Is it immediate? Given the bye week, right? I guess for any team after a bye.
You have a bye week. Oh, you're all in everything. But you're also watching this Georgia game to see where there are things that just coincide. You can prepare for both. You can be strong on both, and you can kind of take it from there. But yeah, you start your install. It's really different because if you had a Levy run offense, just like if you have a Levy run offense, you can start your install in the summer. It doesn't matter. It really does not matter. You still have to execute. He's still going to find edges. You still have to have a balanced game plan where your offense is going to do what it needs to do. So we'll see what Latrell and John Bon Jovi, what's his name, does over at OU. It's the install. I'm pretty sure they have everything they need, but having 2 weeks to prepare for OU this week with a new quarterback, with everything they put on film this week, I really feel good about the next 2 weeks, but we still need to show up.
And both of us getting a bye is unique. That's going to be a cool chess thing.
Who does Georgia play next week after they take this L?
Mm-hmm. Hop on the Googs.
I'm like, let me see if
you can figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So interesting drive success rate, 81%.
Yeah, they have Auburn at home.
They'll get that win. Auburn's throwing away. Statistically, they outscored OU again by 200 yards. They did that last week. You're not supposed to lose games that you outscore or you out yardage people by 200 and still lose it.
Yeah. Pick six on their end is a 14-point play. That's a devastating play in football. I mean, it's never a good place to throw a pick six, but if you're going to do it it on 20.
Exactly. Yeah, the EPA you lose on that is astronomical.
That's right. It's not good if you're a stats nerd. It's really painful.
It's like you don't even realize how bad of a play that actually is for your team.
And here's the crazy thing. I had that game on the side because I was kind of doing a little scout on OU.
Yeah.
Auburn actually did a very good job of isolating OU's cornerbacks in one-on-one situations. And Peyton Thorne was hitting them. Boom, boom, boom. All game. 35, 41, 38, 31. And then they went for one of these chunk gains again. And I think Kip Lewis, a linebacker, he tried to check it down. I don't know what it was, but he grabbed it and went 67 or 63 yards the other way. I mean, it just changed the game. Crazy.
Protect the football.
Yep.
Protect the football, please. It's the most important thing in this game. Most important thing in this game is do not turn the ball over. Punt, play field position, do anything you need to do. Do not turn the football over.
Yeah, and to do it twice is tough. But Wisner came in there averaging. He's going into this. He was averaging 3-point-something yards. This game he averaged 6.8 yards per carry against an SEC caliber, not an elite SEC team, but an SEC team nonetheless. So that's exciting going forward.
I think more important is the subjective part.
Yeah, the actual effort.
How hard was he running?
Yeah.
How many tackles did he break?
Yeah.
I mean, he had a touchdown run called back on a hold where he trucked a guy. And Quintrivion is not a large guy. So this is about effort. This is about like bringing something and trying to deliver. You got to run their blocking better. And the blocking in the second half was really good. It was pretty good actually in the first, but you got to run it better if you're running back. Any dude you can hand the ball if it's blocked for 8 can get 8. So
see, Paul, that's what I appreciate about you guys, because we don't freak out over games like this. Trey ran the way Trey always runs.
Yeah.
This is how Trey plays football. We just saw more snaps today. This is the way he runs. This is the way he plays. I mean, there were plays earlier, I think it was the second quarter. We did not block certain plays well. And some of it we did not block it well. He found the creases. He found the downs. He found the yards. this is the way he plays the game. And so I think across the roster, we're trying to do a better job of having a strong, and I mean strong floor, something we can win with.
Yeah.
We can win with Trey. Make no mistake.
Oh, can I comment on that, Drew? Because you hit on something really smart. Like at most positions, we're seeking ceiling, what the guy can be. And you're like, well, he had a tough first game. Let's play the veteran. It's like, no. That veteran's, we already know that guy's ceiling. We know what this guy's going to be in 3 games once we've coached him up. At running back, I'm about floor right now. I'm about what could we rely on? I'm about let's keep and possess the football. I'm about let's block as hard as we can. Let's run the route as hard as we can. So I'm not, we got to get out of recruiting mode. We got to get out of like, how does he test in his shorts mode? Because now it's football. And so now at that position, I want a set floor. And I think Trey gives us that along with Mr. Gibson.
Yeah, especially with the injury concerns, man. You just need who can give you consistency and safety.
And Baby Rhino lifted his head today.
Yeah.
And ran around a guy. So I want to call that out that we saw that on a football field. So I'm very proud of Baby Rhino.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't think he was playing earlier in the game because we didn't see him much.
No, they threw him in the second half.
Yeah. And so it's like that's whenever I saw him, I was like, oh, I thought he was injured in the group chat. I was like, are we going to see him for OU?
I felt like the game plan was to, hey, Jaden Blue, this is your game. And as soon as it was no longer his game, it was Quintravion, this is your game.
It was more like, Quintravion, would you like the game?
Yeah.
He was like, yes, I would, in fact.
Yeah.
Can Jarek also
the
play?
intent was not to rotate guys.
Can my friend Jarek also play?
Can my friend Jarek also get 1 out of every 3 carries? Why, yes, he may if he runs hard.
Yeah. Yeah. Defensively, thought we were just solid. Manny Muhammad, you got beat on one route. You got lucky.
He got whooped.
He did the typical DB thing too. The guy drops it, has nothing to do with Manny, and he was like, "Yeah, lockdown."
He did the Matumbo like
that was their slowest receiver too. So that was just a good route. I guarantee you, Manny's smart. He thought he was doing this route, and he did the other one. But that made me laugh.
Also, Gavin Holmes got beat on a dime. Van Buren threw a beautiful pass.
Is that the Craver one to the sideline early?
Dropped in like a little teardrop. No, it was a reception, not the drop.
Oh, not the drop.
No, seriously.
That was really good cover.
Yeah.
Homer, can you remind people what type of recruit Van Buren was?
So he was an ESPN 5-star at some point. And so that's what was interesting. Because whenever I was doing my research on him, whenever you go to St. Francis or whatever, I'm like, you got to be fairly highly ranked, if you're at these national kind of quarterbacks. And so I'm looking at On3 and the competitors and stuff, and I'm like, no. And then I'm coming across articles that good old ESPN had ranked him at a 5-star at some point. I think they ended up as a 4, but his trajectory when he was younger was going way up. And then I guess just measurables wise, he didn't maximize, so they had to kind of start dinging him. But I mean, Van Buren had a lot of chops early on from recruiting services. And so, like me and Drew were talking earlier, wait 2 years, and I bet you're hearing about Van Buren, as a junior. I think he's going to be a good quarterback.
I mean, he seemed very intelligent and calm.
Yeah.
That's a very tough environment. I mean, the crowd was lively. Our defense is no joke. He's getting hit hard. And he was very calm, very possessed. Like, that's very impressive young man to do that as a true freshman. That's a guy he doesn't have great skills or traits, but as a college quarterback, man, I'm going to be watching him in a couple of years, like seeing what he becomes. Because he just seemed kind of smart and calm, and the game wasn't too big for him. I would have crapped myself. Like, can you imagine?
Yeah. First SEC game you get thrown in randomly for last week. I mean, it's tough.
Yeah.
That's the thing. That's the thing as a player you got to be careful of. And that's what Sark is fighting against. And I don't think this was an issue this game. But one thing as a player you have to do that fans just don't, and I'm guilty of it as a fan, not necessarily as a player, is respecting your opponent. because your opponent has put in the same amount of time and work that you have put in. I'm talking weights, I'm talking scheme, I'm talking culture and camaraderie and all the things that go into making a win happen. These guys didn't show up to lose. They showed up with a game plan they wanted to execute and win. I think fans lose sight of the fact that there's millions of dollars of salaries on the line. When these coaches have to line up their players against Texas, when they have to line up their players in the SEC, it's not just, hey, we're going to lose. Mississippi State did not think they were going to lose today.
No,
they did not. I don't care what you say. They did not think they were going to lose today. They came prepared to win. And when it was 6 to 14 or 13 or whatever the hell it was that I didn't predict it would be, of course they thought they would win, but they came prepared to win. So I said all that to say we have to start being more respectful of who our opponents are, far more so than we ever were in the Big 12, which is far more so in general. I didn't think we did it enough in the Big 12, but we certainly can't do it now. These guys work, they recruit talent, they need to connect, they need to be developed. But in a lot of ways, the backup quarterback for Mississippi State gave us more fits than I thought Blake Shapen would give us.
Yeah. Don't you ever say that. Shapen is a great guy, and he's got a bright future.
To Drew's point, he's been on the field for extended quarters in his own career against Oklahoma State, where clearly Texas didn't have much respect, and then kind of had it hammered into them. And then Texas is like, all right, let's play and like end their dreams.
The past 10 years.
That's
Drew,
how many crazy Oklahoma State games did you personally participate in? 3?
Oh, they were all crazy.
And you were like you were getting smoked at one point, right?
I mean, usually it's like, hey, you got to. I mean, if you're playing the video game, it's like, hey, you're down 3 touchdowns. You have to pass over the stick. Like, the game's over. You can't come back from this. It's like, no, but I have Vince Young. It's like, okay, we'll give you a shot.
A couple years ago, I would do the breakdowns, and we'd play whatever team, Kansas State, Oklahoma State, and the fans would be like, they don't stand a chance. And I'd be like, well, the stats say they do. And then they would beat us. And so there was a lot of this just kind of overlooking teams. And then I thought we kind of got over that. And then we got good again. And so now we're right back to overlooking teams in Vegas and all that. It's pretty impressive.
Hey, I'm glad. Like, I always thought Jalen Milroe would be special, especially in this offense with this coach. I'm happy to see him play the way he's playing and this team do what they're doing. I'm happy we don't have to play them. But dude,
we're gonna have to play them. That's the problem, though.
We reach our ambitions, Drew. Yeah, I think we are.
I'm all for it. But this is who I want to see.
A couple times.
All right, we've done good.
I want to see him. I want to see them all. I want them all to show up at the same playoff whenever that time comes, and we all sort it out.
Also, state of Texas quarterbacks dominating everywhere I look.
Yeah.
The freaking Army quarterback that was dominating Temple, Texas. The Washington State quarterback, who, if you have not seen this psychopath play football, he's a 230-pound Diego Pavia. He runs people over and then tells them about it after he gets up. These Texas quarterbacks from the state of Texas are just everywhere. It's really fun to see.
Yeah. Well, now I actually want to watch this game. I didn't get to enjoy it because it's already 28-0.
Sorry,
but I'm excited to watch it. You guys
Bama just scored again?
Yeah, Jalen just pulled it and took off. He looks like a deer, man. He looks like
nobody was there.
Yeah.
Lord Jesus.
Incredible athlete, man. All right. Any final thoughts? Fans, any final things?
No, Texas is 5-0, and people are freaking out because we're now 4-1 against the spread. That's what this. If we want to sum up this last hour, that's what this is all about.
Yeah,
y'all, Texas is going to go get better, and you know what? They better freaking bring it in Dallas. And if they do, we'll walk out with our horns up. We'll walk out with our horns up either way, but they need to bring it. This isn't just about I think this game was good for us psychologically if we play it right.
The worst thing is sitting on that Ferris wheel after a loss. You're just sad eating cheesecake. It's such a weird feeling where you're just high in the sky, eating a corn dog, but you're sad somehow. It's brutal. But all right, we will actually not be on next week doing post game because there will be no game. But our normal lives and stuff will continue this week. Our Monday through Friday stuff, we're still going to be solid. But next weekend, us and the team are going to take it off. We need to recover from injuries as well, just like the team. But all right, fans, thank you guys so much for watching, and hook 'em.